Let's cut the parts out for the box. Again, we have a rough edge here on our second board that's not square. So we'll use the miter saw. Without turning it on, line up the blade so it cuts just a hair off the edge. An eighth of an inch is plenty. Let this saw up and cut down. Okay, now we have a square edge to start working off of. Now, if there's a process in this coaster box project that students make mistakes on, it's this one. So really pay attention to how this is done. Ask questions if you've got them. Rewatch these steps and make sure you know exactly where you're cutting before you cut. Because there is no spare material worked in here. If you make a mistake on this step, the only way to fix it is to reglue, resaw, replane, and go through all those steps again. Basically, start the project over. So make sure that you're paying attention here. The first thing we're going to cut is the bottom of the coaster box. Now, we want the coasters to sit in the box like this, but we don't want them to be jammed in. So we need some extra space. So take one of your coasters, again, making sure that they're all square. If they're not all square, talk to me before you do this. I'm going to set one coaster on the edge of my board so it lines up even with the square side I just cut. Take the other coaster, I'm going to set it up against it like that. So you can see, I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer. I've got the boards sitting here like this. One coaster is sitting even with the edge, and then one coaster is standing straight up. The purpose of this straight up coaster is just as a spacer. This is a estimation and woodworking project here. Once you have those set, mark a line right across the edge like that. Back on the miter saw now, I'm going to cut the line I just marked. Again, make sure that the blade is on the scrap side of the line. The thickness of the blade should be off to this left side. Okay. So here is the bottom to my coaster box. Okay, back on the table again. Here's that bottom of the box that we just cut. Now the bottom and the back are going to be the same exact size. So go ahead and place that bottom on your remaining board, making sure these sides are exactly even. And with your nice sharp pencil, mark that again, head back over to the miter saw and cut that board. Make sure that the blade is not touching the board when you start the saw. Force a habit for me. I let the blade up a little bit. It should be all the way up to the top when you start the saw. So now I've got my bottom and my back. I said I'm here to turn the video like this. So the back does not sit on top of the bottom. It sits behind the bottom like that. Now we need to mark out our sides. So take your side board. I'll put it back this way so you guys can see, and set it right up against your bottom and back like that. Make sure everything is perfectly even and lined up, and then just mark that right down on the bottom here. This is the width then of our side board right there. That mark can be kind of hard to see, so go ahead and take a square, line it up with the edge, and transfer that mark all the way down so it's straight. Now use a square to get a nice straight mark. Don't try using a ruler. You won't get a straight line. Back over here on the miter saw, now I'll line up the saw so it's on the scrap side of the line. That's super important for your box to fit. Make sure it's on the scrap side of the line, not the side you want to keep. Let it all the way up, pull a trigger, and make your cut. So now we've got a bottom, back, and side. We need one more side piece that goes on this side like this to make the rest of the box. This one is the exact same size as the first side. So go ahead, line it up, and mark it. And again, we're getting pretty close to the line here with our fingers, so let's head over to the bandsaw for this one. Just like we cut the last coaster on the bandsaw, we'll cut our last sideboard on the bandsaw as well to keep our fingers away from the blade. So start by double checking your blade guide height. Make sure that's within a 1/4 inch of your board. Then I'm going to set the fence. Now this time I can't set the fence using the width of the board because it's different than the width. So I'm going to set it like this and use my line that I marked with the pencil. And again, make sure the blade is on just the outside side on the scrap. Line up your nice straight edge against the fence and cut through nice and slow. You shut it off. Again, wait till it's done spinning. It's still on. Now I can take my push stick or brush and just pull that scrap out of there. This extra can go in the scrap bin. After you have your 4 boards cut, your bottom, your back, and your sides, come back and fit them all together. Make sure that they're all in the correct position. Now, a 1/16 of an inch here is a lot of stuff. That can make for a big gap. So make sure you have them all in the right place. Um, at least in my case here, my boards are nearly exactly the same size between the sides and the bottom and the back. So make sure you have the correct ones in the correct place. Then very lightly on top here because it'll be easy to sand off later. Just label them. I'm going to label this A and A, and this side B and B. That way I know which corners go together. So if we look at this, I'll get it close to you guys. So you can see I've got them labeled A and B. That way, tomorrow or next day when I come back, and I dig my boards out of the cubby and look like this, I can find those marks. Okay, here's an A. Here's an AB. So A and A, B and B. And then this last board doesn't have any marks on it. That one has to be the bottom, like that. That way everything lines up and you don't have to try and guess every day on how it goes together.